Hello YouTube friends, Richard Lewis here, fresh out of another event. This month has been a fucking beast in terms of work that I've had to do, and especially for CSGO. Obviously off to Bucharest at the end of the week, so I'm going to try and rattle out some videos and some shows this week. But there was one thing that I wanted to talk about. It's probably a little bit late, but we didn't ever sort of really do anything about this content-wise, me and Sam, and that is, of course, the Turner deal to televise CSGO. So that's the Turner network that, owns CNN and Turner Sports and everything else. And TBS, of course, which is the cable channel that'll be broadcasting this CSGO league. Now, I did go on the loadout and answer some questions from my ex-colleague Jared, but I don't think a lot of people saw that video. It didn't really take off on Reddit. Maybe this will. So, first thing I need to say right off the bat, I absolutely don't speak on behalf of the Turner Network. I don't even know if they want anybody really answering questions or anything. But I've seen a few of the team owners that were also invited to the big meeting about this league, kind of tweet a few things out and answer a few questions on Reddit and whatnot. So I'm going to just wade in and I think answer the big ones. Also, just for those that don't know, obviously I was at the meeting and I couldn't say anything. I wasn't under an NDA. I don't think I would have signed one had they presented me with one. But I didn't sign an NDA. I was there basically to be in the room, I guess, to sort of give input as a Counter-Strike personality or whatever. But I don't really have a dog in the fight. So just so you know, even though I've been drinking out the CNN cup in a sort of super subtle hint, because we were given some souvenirs from the event. I'm just having a look, actually. I think, no, I don't have it with me, but we got like some Turner Sports bottles. We got like a pen. I got some Bleacher Report Skull Candy headset that I've wore again on the show. Little subtle hints that no one picked up on. But anyway, I certainly haven't been offered a job as of yet. I don't know if I will. I wasn't going there in the interests of making any money. As I said in the meeting, I don't really have a dog in the fight beyond just wanting Counter-Strike to be done right. Okay? So I think that's just full disclosure, being honest. So I get out to Atlanta, and I mean this meeting was like a who's who of eSports, and it's not my place to sort of name people who were there, but I'm sure if you were to think about prominent team owners, prominent CS personalities, and of course on the Turner side, it was a who's who of television. I mean, Lenny Daniels, guys like that are there. It was unbelievable. That's the first thing I want to make absolutely clear. This one of the things that was said was that this could be like CGS 2.0. Now, for those that weren't around, and I know this applies to a lot of you, CS:GO is a very different beast to previous entities of Counter-Strike, and I think it would be nice if we all knew our history, but it's certainly not a requirement. CGS was something called the Championship Gaming Series. It was the brainchild of the Murdochs, basically. So it was kind of an offshoot of Fox. James Murdoch dumped $60 million into trying to bring television competitive gaming to television in conjunction with DirecTV and some other people. Now, this was pretty much heralded to the now, I believe, like, while it achieved some good things, and yeah, it salaried some players, and there's some things that everybody can be proud of. It looks great in a CV. Being involved with it is kind of a point of pride to some people. I was the head of European coverage there. I got a promotion pretty fast after I started writing for the CGS. I was a volunteer at Cadred at the time when they picked me up. It was an unmitigated disaster in the aftermath, because they pulled out. They promised everyone 5 years. They did 2.5. They said that actually we think this can run for 10. It was disastrous. It left the CSS scene, especially, just this barren wasteland. It fucked the NA scene. Anybody who's around from that time will tell you. There's a reason why great players, like I don't know, like Mo and Dazed and fucking Clown and the War Machine, the who's who of all the NA players from that. They were having to play for no salary after CGS. It's no wonder that entire generation of talent just fizzled out, because nobody thought we were ever going to get back to a place where there was any money in Counter-Strike. So anyway, key thing here is, when the CGS was put together, I, in my lowly position, though I didn't see any of these high-level executives anywhere. It was clearly a punt. It was like this should work. I think it will work. Here's the money. Now we appoint a bunch of people to make it work. Well, with Turner, these are the people. These are the people that have made the Turner Network what it is. These are the people that have won awards for their broadcasting output. And they're in a room talking to the team owners. Huge difference. And what that should say to you, and what it certainly said to me, and the impression I got throughout the entirety of the meeting was, Turner treating this very respectfully, very reverentially. They respect everybody that was in the room. They fielded all the questions, some of which probably were a little bit stupid to them, because obviously we don't understand television. They do. There was probably some things like some old, antiquated eSports thinking that they couldn't get their head around. But they, basically humoured us all. They entertained every question we asked. And I think it was very commendable of them to do so. They put on some very promising presentations that all showed what they're about in terms of broadcasting and what they want to do with esports, which was all very exciting. And trust me, there wasn't one bit of it where it was like, okay, this simply isn't going to work. This looks ridiculous. So another reason why it's not a CGS 2.0 is the CGS came arrogantly with a list of requirements of how, and I'll just talk about Counter-Strike for now, but the list of requirements we had to be on television. That to be on television, we had to adapt for them because they were doing us the favor. So, to give you an idea, keep in mind we're talking about Counter-Strike. The word terrorist wasn't allowed on the broadcasts. You couldn't say terrorist. So counter-terrorist, terrorist, you couldn't say that. It was offensive, defensive, red, blue, that kind of thing. You had to come up with alternatives because they just didn't deem it appropriate for television. Bomb as well was a forbidden word. Again, you think about defuse maps. Bomb, you can't say it. You can't say it at all. They had to say he's carrying the package. They made the players, skins-wise, look like they weren't military themed. They gave them basketball jerseys. So there's this huge disconnect of, you have a basketball skin with a player name on the back, running around with an AK and definitely not planting a bomb. It was ridiculous. The other thing was as well, because they knew games could be quite long. As we all know, you can be committed to an hour, maybe longer, with overtimes and crazy shit happening at the highest level of Counter-Strike. They were like, the format doesn't work. Now, keep in mind, the MR15 format, when it came in, was a revision of the MR12 format. Now, MR12, which, again, I'm going to assume a lot of you won't remember, was 12 rounds per half, 3 minutes per round. It was a fucking grueling way to play Counter-Strike. There was nothing worse than when I was playing MR12 games. It would get to like 30 seconds in the round, and you'd be like, alright, yeah, I'm just going to rotate from A long on Dust 2 to B, and as you go to rotate, there's still one German asshole in mid. He's been holding there the entire time with an AWP, and he gets a kill. It's like, I'm 2.5 minutes for that, So that's why we brought in MR15. It was a much more refined and streamlined way to play Counter-Strike. Now, CGS came in and they were like, nah, this is way too long, this isn't going to work. So the prescribed way of playing had been completely torn up, and they said, we're going to do something called MR9. And basically MR9, if I remember rightly, was 9 rounds a half. That's obvious from the name. And it was like 1 minute 30, I think, round times, and 16k start money. So you started with maximum money. And this was, again, sort of removed the economic aspect from the game. I'm not a fan of pistol rounds. I'll definitely do a video about that at some point. But that you very rarely saw ecos or pistol rounds here. So it was about just fast-paced action. Now, on top of that, they dictated what maps you could and couldn't play. Train, for example, was deemed to be too dark, just in terms of its palette and the shadows and how it looked in the Train to play. So they removed a map from the competitive map pool purely because they didn't think it could work on television. If I remember rightly, I think that's why Tuscan got introduced, and Tuscan was a reimagining of the old Clan Mill beta, which got purchased by CPL. Some people know it as CPL Mill, and you know, it was the same, but obviously you couldn't have the CPL any association with it on CGS, okay, because they were two separate brands. So that's why that happened. So you had all of these dictates. Now Turner, right? So just by contrast, not one thing have they said about how the game should be played. Could we change this? Could we make this different? They haven't said anything about the delicate little sensibilities of the American audience. Can we not use the word terrorist in a broadcast? Can we not use the word bomb? They said nothing about it. Nothing. It's never come up. And I think straight away you can see right there, this is almost like the power shift for esports. That it's like, look, this is what we do. You want a piece of this? This is how it is. Whereas before it was like, oh, hi, Mr. TV people. Can we be on TV? What do we have to do? How can we debase ourselves? You know, it's not like that anymore. We're holding the cards. Turner recognised that. And the other point that I wanted to make as well is because, you know, me, I'm just me, right? Like I'm not gonna stand on ceremony for anybody. Not my style. So I asked one of the Turner guys. And I said to them, I was like, look, why esports and why now? And I was expecting some corporate bullshit, you know what I mean? It was over dinner, it was private, right? So it's like, you know, but I'm still expecting the corporate bullshit, because that's the world I'm used to, when big money comes to esports, right? But they just said relevancy. That was it, one word answer. It was like relevancy, you know, like we're looking at what you guys are doing over on esports. That's a great demographic, you've done wonders. It's obviously the future, we need to be involved in it. It's like, all right, good answer. You know, you've gained my respect immediately, because that level of honesty you don't always see. So that should just tell you right there, again, it's day and night between this and CGS. Another thing worth mentioning is that actually on a lot of broadcasts, if you can find the VODs, which of course you can't because they've just been cat. I mean, this is how much CGS and all the people involved with it on the executive level cared about esports, right? As soon as they went under, website was down, all the written work gone, all the statistical data gone, all the videos gone, all the little internet special dailies, of which there was 3 a day, gone, interview content gone, it's all gone. And they just fuck this, like, we're out, peace, we're out, you all don't have jobs anymore, here's an email. I mean, again, understand that people found out that it was over as well by like just one shitty email and the website saying, yeah, we've closed down. I mean, it was ridiculous. But these guys have obviously, you know, really done their homework on it, and they're really wanting to, you know, do something good together as a partnership. It's just, it was abundantly clear right from the start. So I'm very excited personally, and I'm enough of a cynic, and everybody should know I'm usually the guy that's shitting on everything, like, yeah, this is gonna suck, this is gonna be terrible, blah blah blah. So here's the other thing though, CGS didn't really do a lot of ancillary programming. They didn't really do a lot of TV stuff. Oh, actually, fuck, lost the train of thought. Hang on, one sec, let's rewind. So the point I was going to make there was, if you watch the broadcasts, they didn't even used to show the full Counter-Strike matches. Like, sometimes they'd take a break in the middle of them and you'd come back and 3 rounds would have gone on, the score would have changed. So there was that. And to add to that, okay, a lot of it was broadcast in third person. And if you want to know why this is, and this is absolutely true, okay, again, I know I've come up with some fantastical stories at times, and people think Richard's full of shit. It's not, it's just esports is crazy. You got to trust me on this. So one of the executives, whose name temporarily escapes me, and perhaps it's fortunate that it does, I don't want to get sued, he had a kind of what he said was a focus group, and he told everyone the focus group said third person makes more sense for Counter-Strike, that they could understand what was going on more importantly. So you only really had the occasional bit of in-eye, but for the build-up on the rounds, it was all third person. So that focus group was his wife. And his wife said, yeah, I like this one when they're all running around. So you had third person Counter-Strike source. It was and yeah, like I say, they didn't even broadcast it all the way through a lot of the time. They had breaks. So fairly ridiculous. So anyway, ancillary programming. So ancillary programming is like, look man, there's this hype fucking sports league. Let's do some profiles and some features on it. I mean, think about like documentaries, hype build-up, hit player profiles, history of the team. CGS had none of that. You had these tiny little vignettes, I guess you would call them, that were embedded into the program, where it was like, how gaming changed my life. I mean, they always went for like the mad melodramatic sub story. I feel a little bit complicit in some of this because I used to unearth some of them, and when we were doing our meetings, I'd be like, you this guy's done this, you know. Like the piece that got me promoted was I wrote about an Irish Project Gotham, Northern Ireland, I think, Project Gotham Racer player who came over. He had a job at Blockbuster Video. He left it. He sold everything like that he owned to get the ticket over and stuff on the ferry. And he came over, and he knew that if he didn't win, didn't get drafted, he was going back to nothing, right? A player called Neo Jake. So I just met him in a hotel lobby, just coincidentally. I mean, this is how journalism happens a lot of the time. You're just in the right place at the right time. You talk to the right person at the right time. And I was like, oh, are you here for the CGS? And he had bags and stuff. And he was like, oh, yeah. And I was like, go talk to him. And he told me his story, and I wrote it up. Didn't even talk to him about it. I was just like, yeah, this is pretty good. And I filed it. And then the big bosses at CGS came down and they were like, holy shit, this is amazing. This is exactly the kind of thing we want. This, God damn it, this is going to sell the eSports dream to everybody. Big cigars. Who are you again? And it was like, okay, well, you know, all right, I can tell you a million stories like this if you really want. And so I'm a little bit complicit in that. But anyway, so the ancillary programming wasn't really existent for CGS. There weren't any really in-depth documentaries. You didn't know the history of players or teams. There were tiny little bits where it was like, and of course this guy did this and this guy did this, and he used to get bullied at school and then he became an esports guy and changed his life, and just bullshit, right? What Turner want to do is they want to basically make all sorts of interesting programs and lengthy features around the game, the league, the players, the teams, the owners. They want to do all sorts of stuff, and I've even had preliminary discussions about what some of those stories might be, and they're super interested. So that's a difference right there. Like, the broadcast itself isn't just going to be the games. It's not just going to be the leagues. You're not going to be cutting away to any dubstep, wub bullshit between matches while we wait for someone to change a fucking headset or something. There'll be TV to broadcast. There'll be actual shows to broadcast. So, again, comparisons to the CGS for me seem a little bit pessimistic. And keep in mind, of course, Jason Lake, who was at the meeting, and I feel comfortable saying that much because he's announced it publicly and even tweeted some photos out. He was in the CGS, and the CGS fucked him harder than almost anybody else. When the CGS went under, he'd lost everything. He built the Complexity brand, one of the great Counter-Strike fucking brands, sold it to the CGS, and then when they went under, the Complexity brand was an asset. He couldn't even get it back, right? So, and he didn't have a job anymore. And the whole point of purchasing, IP like that, intellectual property like that, was that, okay, I'll sell it for you for X amount, but I also get a job in the CGS. No CGS, no job, no brand. It was horrendous for him. So he would run a fucking mile if anything like the CGS reared its head again. Like, he's been there, done that, he knows. But he has been very optimistic, publicly and privately, about the whole project. And he's somebody who you should absolutely respect in esports, and his opinion carries weight. So, the other thing, okay, that came up was exclusivity. Big question, right? You get all the power owners in a room. You get the WME-IMG in a room. Talent agency, done wonders for esports. Represent me, again, full disclosure. But the work they've done for esports in terms of matching up esports brands with businesses. They got a lot of stick when they got bought. It used to be GEM, Global Esports Man. Got a lot of stick when they were bought by WME. They've really made a big difference. There's more money coming into esports, and that was a direct result of their endeavors. And I'm happy to have been one of their original clients in a lot of ways. So the talk of exclusivity is always going to be there, right? People see a power meeting and they panic and they think it's exclusivity. It's an exclusivity league. Now, you know me. I'm never going to sign off on an exclusivity league. It simply doesn't work for me. It never works. I don't see how an exclusivity deal is going to do anyone any good, especially for the top brands. It will completely kill Counter-Strike as we know it. Not once did the word exclusivity get mentioned. Not once. Not once. Didn't come up. Turner aren't interested in exclusivity. They're obviously going to be working in close cooperation with Valve. They have to. And Valve don't like the idea of exclusivity. Fact. Okay, so Valve, and again, I'm not speaking on behalf of Valve, and this isn't a reflection of anything they've said to me, but you only have to look at your actions to realise that Valve have majors. They have majors that they want to have the top teams attend them. Not much of a fucking major, is it? If it's like mixed teams going there, and yay, we got a sticker for some shit named team, like we've never heard of. That would be rubbish for everybody. So the whole point is that yes, it's 10 weeks of programming twice a year, so 20 weeks out of a 52-week year seems like a lot, right? But Valve are obviously going to be like, it's got to fit around the majors, it's got to fit around that landscape, it's got to fit around other big tournaments, high points. And Turner are like, yeah, absolutely. That's why we haven't just announced dates. Would have been the easiest thing in the world for a network like Turner to just come out and go, right, these are the dates. You don't fucking like it, fuck off. They didn't do that. They just said, look, we're gonna look at next. We're gonna revise it. We're gonna make sure it all works for everybody. Now, the downside to 10 weeks of programming, hoping to be broadcast on a Friday night live, is of course that if the other events that take place that weekend, they're gonna obviously suffer. They're not going to have the top teams there. And I can see some of the smaller events getting squeezed out of this new look CSGO era, where we're talking about TV, we're talking about majors, we're talking about ESL and MTG being able to put up 250,000, maybe 500,000 out of their own pocket. We got the ESL, ESEA Pro League running. The whole point is, we cannot get into a situation where we have oversaturation of content. It'll kill us. I've seen it happen with StarCraft. I've seen it happen a little bit with Dota 2. Hopefully they'll forgive me for saying that. Probably not. But oversaturation isn't good. So we're walking that line now. So some of the smaller events will probably suffer. I don't know what it means for an event like Fragbite, for example. I love the guys at Fragbite. I've worked for them many, many times. But maybe they can't expect top teams to be at their events anymore. Maybe as a result of that, they can't get top sponsors and they can't get top prize money. Maybe they can't run events anymore. That's sad. That is sad. And I don't necessarily, in an ideal world, that wouldn't have to happen. But this is what's going to have to happen. You've got a choice of having a Premier League on TV and online. Or we break it up and we water it down to try and accommodate events that don't even have the same sort of reach and the same sort of level. And again, I'm using Fragbite as an example. There's a group of these smaller organisations which I think will either need to adapt to this new landscape and maybe cater to smaller teams and tier 2 teams, tier 3 teams, or they'll need to do something else. So yeah, that's sad. That sucks. But I don't think it's going to affect any of the big events, any of the big tournament organisers at all. I think we're all adult enough to get around the table, work in conjunction. Probably is going to get a little bit tasty at some point. I think there's going to be some back and forth between the big organisations, but ultimately, I'm not too worried about that. The bottom line is, though, these teams are free to compete in other leagues anytime they want, other competitions anytime they want, provided it doesn't interrupt with their commitment to the Turner League. That's it. That is, some people are calling that an implied exclusivity. It's just how it needs to be. You can't be like, okay, can we not turn up this weekend because there's an event there we want to go to? It's not going to work for a televised league. You want to build storylines, you want to build narrative. It's just how it is. So the other question is, what teams have been picked? So, a good question. None is the answer, in a nutshell. Basically, that no official decisions have been made. I mean, okay, we've seen some teams tweet out that, yeah, we're going to be involved in the league. You can probably bet that they are, but ultimately, Turner's reserved the right to revise things. I don't know if there's been any agreement signed on that level yet, but certainly, even if some teams have got to that level and have agreed and totally will be involved, the reality is that there's still space for other people. I've been inundated with people adding me on Twitter and messaging me on Skype and emails and just, Rich, how does my team get in the league? And some of these teams, if I'm really honest, they should never be considered at all. But the good thing about Turner, again, is they get that this cannot just be some supreme elite power play where we bring in all of the big boys, the guys who are already big, already making bank, and we lock them into this league and they make more bank And then all of the little teams don't get a chance to sit at that table. They know that's bad for the ecosystem. Everybody knows that's bad for the ecosystem. The only people that maybe would be like, no, what's the problem with that, are obviously the team owners that benefit. Everybody else knows that's a bad thing, and Turner are especially cognizant of that. So what they've said is they're going to invite all the top tier elite teams, and then they're going to look at maybe, what do we do? Do we do a qualifier? Do we have just direct invites for some teams, but we sort of take it on recommendation? Do we have a people's vote? I mean, I certainly hope they don't do that. Popularity contests suck. But there's going to be opportunities for the sort of smaller teams, on the cusp of that tier 1, maybe in the tier 2, in the tier 3, whatever it is. There's going to be chance for underdogs to be in there, and Turner want that. It's not even just altruistic. It's not even just thinking about the landscape and the environment. It just makes for good TV. If you get an underdog team in there and somehow they kill it, right? Or it's the story. Even one result would make for a great story. You remember when that could have its own little documentary featurette in its own right. Turner knows sports, so they used to do the NBA, they used to do the WCW, they do the NCAA now. They've won awards for the March Madness programming around that. The NCAA for people in Europe, obviously that's the collegiate basketball league. And we're going to be on TBS. That's the channel that's broadcast these things, famously in the past. Which brings me to the other point, which was there's a lot of people like, why isn't it on Turner Sports? Well, okay, so it was mentioned, this is one of the points that did come up in the meeting. It was mentioned that, well, why aren't we on Turner Sports? Well, if you look at the TBS channel, very good fit for our demographic in terms of programming. Okay, so it's TV programs aimed at people in our, like, I don't know, the kind of teenage, dare I say, to young adult bracket. It's stuff like American Dad, stuff like Family Guy. You got Conan on a night. It's this kind of programming, stuff that people like us would watch. So it's already got a good overlap. And one of the things they want to do is try and reach people who maybe aren't esports fans yet. And I've said this many times. You can quote me on that. Best way to reach people who don't know they're esports fans yet is going to be through TV, because if they were esports fans, they'd already be consuming the kind of media we consume. They're not. But there's people out there who are going to watch television that don't know they're an esports fan yet, and they might see it on television, and they'll be like, wow, this is actually cool. Like, I had no idea that it'd be this good, and then they're hooked in for life. So best place to be doing that, I think, initially probably is on a network like TBS. Makes sense, right? Like, it's going to be the group of people that have the most chance of enjoying the programming. And again, there's no shame on being in there from a sports perspective. It's not like we're a novelty act, a comedy act. As I said, March Madness at the NCAA, Collegiate Basketball League, is on TBS. So it's a real big opportunity for us, I think. And who knows? I mean, there's a good chance that maybe it migrates to Turner Sports if it's successful enough. That's happened in the past. NBA used to be on TBS, now it's on Turner Sports, obviously. Who knows, like, which way it will go. But the bottom line is, and this is the thing I really wanted to sort of communicate to everybody, I know what it's like. We've been through this a bunch of times. Big company comes to esports, right? They want to rule shit, they want to run shit, they want to, put their stamp on it, and all the people that claim to be the guardians at esports, they take the money, they let it happen, and me, you, and the fans, I'm a fan, right? We're all fucked. And we're always like, what happened there? And then it takes 3-4 years to recover again while they're in a fucking beach in Barbados going, giving it to Sir Scoots. Like, fuck esports, look what I've got. Seen it time and time again. It sucks, right? This isn't that. Right? Sure, people are going to make money. There's going to be some ridiculous sponsors coming in now we're on TV. Believe it. I mean, Turner, obviously in Atlanta. You think about some of the companies that are based in Atlanta. It's Coca-Cola, for example. They've had a bit of a once round with League of Legends. They're looking to get more involved in esports, and Turner can do it right, where perhaps other companies haven't. So there'll be money made. But the point is, this league is going to be, it's going to be the sort of showpiece in a lot of ways of kind of what we used to have like as an online league. This is going to be the go-to league, right? This is going to be the league we all watch. It's going to be broadcast online, although we don't really know how that happens. But one of the things that Turner want to do is they want to sort of have that digital interaction They want to ensure that their viewership isn't just confined to cable, because that makes no sense for them. So if you look at some of their apps that they've made, they've won awards for them. They revolutionized, like watching NASCAR online, for example. You know, driver's cam, different views, statistical data, up to date from the second. Watch a pit stop. You know, all sorts of crazy stuff. They want to revolutionize CS:GO and how you watch it online in the same way. So there's loads of awesome stuff that's coming out of it, and I don't think anybody's going to be prevented or excluded from viewing it. Certainly, I didn't get that impression from the meeting. So this is really exciting, and I think it's the next evolutionary step in esports. To be clear, it's starting with CS:GO. We're the proof of concept. Other games are going to come. It could be League of Legends. Right, I certainly think they'll pick up something like a MOBA. ESPN seem to be very interested in Heroes of the Storm. Who knows? And they've obviously broadcast Dota as well. Might be that Turner are the first to put League of Legends on TV. Who knows how it's going to go, right? But they're interested in esports as a whole, and it's up to the CS:GO community to sort of get on board with this for the greater good. Right, and it's not often we get that opportunity, right, to be the sort of pioneers, the standard bearers for esports, usually with a red-headed stepchild. Well, that ain't true anymore. We're the largest growing esport. We're the one that people watch the most, according to Twitch figures. We watch the most hours, according to Twitch figures. We're in a really, really good place, and everybody's recognised that, and that's why we have this awesome opportunity. And hopefully, you know enough about me to know that if this wasn't the real deal, if this wasn't impressive, if this wasn't a good opportunity, I'd be sat here doing a video called something very different, something not too flattering about Turner. But that's not the case. So I'm excited. I hope you're all excited. I hope this video's answered some of your questions. And obviously, I will see you on the next one. Take care.